Oh, thank you all for coming, all you wonderful entities, whatever you may be masquerading as. I'm thrilled and honored to be here. I was last at the 2012 conference with Sleep Magic, introducing that, and I commented when I left here that I had never been at a conference of this sort with the kind of energy that I found here. That this was simply the best spiritually oriented conference I'd ever been to, and I've been to a lot. I started doing hands-on healing work back in '96, and so I've done my duty and visited a lot of things, but to be here is just wonderful. And I tremendously honor the energetic integrity at Ozark, which is very, very different and very much concerned not so much with the authors. I mean, we're necessary, we bring the message, but with the people that are getting the message. And that's what I'm concerned with. That's what I've been concerned with. That's why I wrote Sleep Magic. I was working as a hands-on healer, and I'd been doing so for about 10 years, maybe more. Time which doesn't exist, means nothing to me. So it was a long time. And I began to realize that people were coming to me for healing, and I would put my hands on them, and we would talk about their life and the changes that they needed to make. Because you don't heal if you don't change something. Because you're not uncomfortable or sick or whatever for no reason. Something's wrong somewhere. And my people, who liked being my people, I guess, were not making the required changes. And therefore, were coming back to me every 2 weeks. And my other therapist friend said, "That's fabulous. This is how you make a living." I think, I don't want to make a living make this. I want these people to get well. I'd like to see some new people coming in. That would be fine. But I felt like a sham. And one day I grew very frustrated, threw up my hands to the universe, like you do. And I said, "Well, will you please send me someone who can teach me what I know that I don't know that I know?" Because I knew that I had healed from a disease that's both incurable and fatal. And I knew I didn't do that by accident. I didn't know how I did do it, but I knew it was no accident. And sure enough, because when you surrender to what is, which I did in that moment, you get what you want. And I got a person who triggered my energy in such a way that after listening to him speak one night, I knew what to do, kinda. And he was talking about asking for things when you sleep, when you dream. It's just, ask your body for this and it'll give you the information in the morning. And this was before I knew that information doesn't really matter so much. At any rate, I have these hands. This is all that's left from the disease that I have, which is that this is as far as we go. No big deal. I paint, I do. There's nothing I can't do that I don't want to do. And they don't hurt. But at the time, I said to my body, why don't we open my hands up? I thought, if this works, it'll be awesome. I woke up the next morning with boils all over my arms. It was awful. And in that moment, I realized the thing. Because a lot of information was coming through in my head. Hard to explain. There's so many things there are no words for, but it was just rolling. And I just started writing everything down and doing what I could for the boils. And what I realized was about the sanctity and the integrity of my body. I realized that despite all the healing work I'd done, despite all the education I'd given myself, everything I'd read, everything I'd sucked in, what I didn't really get was that I didn't have a relationship with my body. The most intimate relationship we have turns out to be us. It's this body. Because we, and y'all know this or you wouldn't be here, we are not our bodies. All the more reason we have to develop an actual conscious relationship with our bodies. And there are some interesting people that posit that, in point of fact, our bodies are quite different on purpose from who we are, so that we have something to work with, so that we have a way to master this game, which is about living in a body. And so I began to develop that aspect a little more on my own. And sleep magic is what came out of that. And what sleep magic is, I find this out in retrospect. So much of my life is doing a thing and then walking with it for a couple of years and then going, oh, that's what I was doing. And sleep magic was pretty much the same. I realized that what was happening was that there was cellular reprogramming going on at a very refined level. I realized that if you've been abused for 16 years of your life, you are probably going to have to work with your body at a very intimate level for about 16 years before that clears. Because you've been programmed, your whole body has been programmed. So along the way, as I'm doing this healing work, I also came across Feng Shui, which interested me, and I took it up and I went to practice it. And for about 10 years, I was a Feng Shui consultant. I became a teacher for the Shambhala Academy. I went on to open my own school, teaching professional consultants. And what I realized was, I would go into somebody's house, and we would chat about how their life was and what was going on. And I'm an empath, so I'm getting more than they're telling me. So I'm in a good position to make these appropriate changes in the space. Well, I would make some appropriate changes in the space, and things would happen, and they would change. But I began to notice something. If they weren't ready for the change, they'd miss it. It would just slip by. The most obvious one was a nice couple, young couple, musicians. They had a band, and they wanted an album, they wanted to tour, they wanted to be known. And they were just getting started. Small place, easy job, easy to see where the problems were. Moved things around, fixed some stuff, walked away. 2 weeks later, they got an offer from a record company. Wanted them to come on their label. They were going to go on tour. They had a whole United States and then European tour planned for them. Fabulous. Guy fell downstairs, broke his leg. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh, I see. This thing that we have that we like to say distinguishes us from the animals, our mind, also distances us from us. We are so mind dependent. We are so taught to think. And the famous childhood refrain, I'm sure everybody in here heard, what were you thinking? And it becomes the most important thing to the body, which is an animal thing. You know, we talk about the mind distancing us, changing us, making us different from the animals. This is an animal. How different do I want to be? How much do I want to encourage being not like this vehicle I'm living in? So the importance of the body, I realized, and its information, because, making another leap here to something else that we learn about, the law of attraction that everybody was going on about for the last decade. The secret that was no secret, because everybody had been talking about it since Aristotle. People made it seem as though what you think could make everything come true. Not true. If your body is ready, if all the cells in your body are clear and open because they're not carrying distant childhood memories or old traumas or anything like that, well then, yes, it'll work. You can think and it'll happen. But for most people, that's not the case. I had a client who once liked to say, you know what you know, but you don't know what you don't know. In your mind. But your body knows everything. It knows everything you've ever seen, heard, felt, smelled, tasted, touched, experienced in your head. The body remembers all that. From the time you were in your mother's uterus to the time that you're 7 years old, the neural transmitters in your brain, the connections, are multiplying at a rate that does not happen again. Now, it continues to happen, and it continues to happen right up until you get quite old. But during those 7 years and 9 months, you are taking on the foundational information that will make you the person that you are. And you have no idea what that is. You have no idea what your mother was going through when she was carrying you. You have no idea what happened. Most people don't. You may have a spark here and there. You may know some things. I have a great deal of information in me that I began getting when I was 4 years old. And I understand that. And that comes out as a knowing. And here's an important difference. It's a big, big difference between thinking something, getting it for a fact, and knowing something. The body knows. The mind thinks, imagines, extrapolates. It does all kinds of things. The body is a specialist. The body feels. And so sleep magic is all about feeling. And yes, it uses dreams, but the big question is always, how did it make you feel? How did it make you feel? Because that's what matters. The body's main deal is, I need to stay alive. And so survival is dependent on pretty much everything you do in your life. All the decisions that you make as far as your body is concerned are, okay, what's going to keep me alive? What's going to keep me well? And if you're running around with a head full of things that say, okay, this is what I need to be happy. I need a BMW convertible. I need a 5-bedroom house with a pool in the back. And your body's down here going, I need breakfast. And that's why the old Buddhist approach of being in the now moment becomes so critical to life. Because that's where your body is. Your body's in the now moment. And if your brain's off over this way, figuring out some new way to rule the world, it doesn't make any difference to your body. It's not helping. Not helping. So the law of affirmation, which works on vibration, works on the vibration of your body. That's what it's all about. It's the vibration of the cells in your body, and they've got all this information. And as I discovered when I first started using the technique on myself, because I did that before I called up all my clients and said, okay, this is what we're doing now. I discovered that I could take something totally innocuous into sleep. Because all your clues to what you need to get as clear as you need to be to attract to you what it is your spirit came here to get? All those clues are present in your everyday life. You're in a parking lot and you're backing out a little bit very slow, you're looking, you're very careful, and some guy behind you pulls out and just whacks in the back of your car. That happens. It doesn't have to. And if it does, take it into your body. Because then you go in and you go, you know, I know that you know what we're holding on to that attracted that to us. It doesn't seem so useful. And tonight, maybe you could let that go for us. To the degree that you're comfortable letting it go. Because the body actually is very comfortable with what it carries. It doesn't know it's standing in your way, so it's just carrying this information. So you give it permission, let it go. If it's comfortable, it will. If it isn't comfortable, you might have a bad dream. You might feel scared, you might feel irritated, you might feel angry, you might feel frustrated, and if you don't dream, you might feel that way when you wake up. Or you might wake up singing, like I did this morning. And that's the best. But if it isn't the best, if you woke up another way, you can go back the next night and say to your body, okay, I don't know what that was all about, but I know you do. And you thank it for doing what it did. You must always be grateful to your body. It's the best gift you've got. And I usually recommend that people just say thank you. Say thank you for everything. Every day, thank you. I thank my body on a regular basis, just throughout the day. Thanks for not choking on that. You know, everything, because it wasn't used to that. Before I got sick, my body was, I don't even know. I had no relationship to it. I started leaving my body when I was 4 years old because of abuse that was going on, and it distanced me from my physical self. I had to do work to soothe the body, to let it know that I was paying attention now that I would come back in. And so you want to be comfortable, and you want your body to be comfortable, and you want it to know you're grateful. Thank you for digesting my food. Some nights, if I can't fall asleep, I'll be thanking it for, running the blood through my lungs and, whatever. It's like, it's better than counting sheep. And it makes the body very happy. So it's a simple technique. I think you can see that. But the important thing about it is that you use it. I use it almost every night. Last night, I used it to prepare me to speak. I did not tell it specifics. I don't know. I don't know that, that somebody's going to have to slide a mic down my back and hook it to my pants. I don't know that. But my body knows everything because it exists in the now moment. And the now moment is eternal. I don't know how many of you studied physics for the layman, but time is a dimension. It's the space-time dimension. People heard that, but they didn't quite get it. This thing, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, noon, 1, 2, doesn't exist. It's a construct. It's artificial. We made it up so that everybody could be in the same room at the same time to do something, have a party, whatever. But in fact, every moment of your existence, in every dimension in which you exist, in every lifetime, and every life form that you may inhabit, because of course everything is alive, whether you appreciate that or not. You guys, yes, but most people, no, not so much. But it's all alive. So you as a piece of quartz crystal, and you as an octopus, and you as a tiger, and you as somebody living in prehistoric times as a Neanderthal, You're all available to you and to this body. Which is why sometimes what people used to call past lives, and I call alternate lives, it's why they seem to leak through sometimes. Because it's a matter of consciousness. And if it just so happens that you in the 16th century is having some kind of thought that they don't understand and their mind has drifted off, and you from the 21st century kind of shows up back there in the 16th century, that's going to show up for you, and boom, you have a moment. And this body feels that. This body is in touch with all of that. All animals are present in the now moment. I often think how nice it would be to be a cat, or a dog, or a deer, and just be. Just being is actually the best that we could do. So the goal is to live with this mind, which is a result of the body, and in fact, because of all the cellular programming that's in all the body, because of all these memories that I have and all these traumas that I have, my brain grows out of that. I mean, it's your brain, it's the cells, it's the same body. It's going to have all that programming in there. And so everything you do and every decision that you make with your mind, it's all colored by that. And until that is released, you can't be quite as content. That's the word I like to use. Because, as I said, the best thing that we can be is to just be. But we have jobs to do, most of us. Places to be, people to see, things to deal with. That requires our mind. So if we've gotten our bodies to a place where they can be content, the mind functions much more easily. It's free of so much stuff that it doesn't even know it's carrying, because the mind doesn't know what the body knows. Now, when I first realized sleep magic and used it on myself, I started with what I knew about my life that had been troublesome. But there was a whole bunch about my life I didn't know, because I had repressed memories of incest that took place over about a 10-year period, and repressed memories of being rented out by my grandfather, and that occurred with one of my sisters as well. So the abuse that I endured was at a very young age and very, very intense, because you can't introduce a 4-year-old child to grown-up sex and have that be a good thing. It just doesn't work well. I escaped. I went, don't ask me why, I have no idea to this day, but I used to dive into the ground and go up into the trees. And I was the tree. I was a part of the tree. Funny that I would end up getting a disease that almost literally turned me into a tree. That's what I was like when I had Scleroderma. And in the trees, I learned energy. I guess that's the best way to put it. I got the give and take of what was going on. I understood that the integrity of the situation that I was observing was not good. And yet, I got that those people didn't know what they were doing. They were not in touch with themselves. They were not in touch with being a spirit in the world. And the thing about being a spirit being in a physical body is this. You might have wondered why this was up here. I am an artist, and sometimes I get visions. I've had visions all my life. And now I've done yoga every morning for the past 30 years. And sometimes I get really cool visions. And this is one of them. And I don't know that you can see it when it's still here, but this middle section of it is reflective. It was painted with, I can't think of the interference paints. So they reflect different colors in different angles. So it looks different from different positions. Well, this painting is a reflection of what I began to understand only just this year. I'd heard people talk about the fact that we are all one. And you know, we're all one. You feel that. That's a body thing. But I never got to lose myself in that until this year. When you have a spiritual practice of any sort, it will always take you deeper and deeper if you continue to practice. And I had been sending healing energy out every morning to people who asked me to. I will never send healing energy to somebody that didn't ask me to, because I think they need it. That's not my place. We are all integrity is a big thing. Personal integrity is a big thing. So there's this interesting conflict that goes on. This is called contemplation on the concept of I. And that's I, capital I. All these colors are out here flowing in. And all these things you can't see from out there, but they're all like little shapes, sort of like crystal shapes. And then in the middle is this one big crystal. This is I. But I'm not really there. This is because my consciousness, the consciousness that inhabits my body, everybody has their own consciousness, pulls from all of the energies which the blues and the yellows, the primary colors, are representing. We are soup. We are all of us just one big life. But we have these bodies, and these minds, more specifically, that make us imagine that we are this thing in the middle. Here are my edges. Yeah, we have these edges, but they're kind of an illusion. And it's a good illusion, and in the material world, easy to sustain. When you get into the soup, it's like you're not there. And it is the most remarkable sense, because it is a sense of being and not being at the same time. Because when you step into that, when you allow yourself to flow into everything that is, and you become, to the extent that you can, aware of that, it's just like that. There's nothing. There's nothing. And it is quite amazing. And I believe that this state is rather close to what we call the death of the human body, which is no death at all, except a sloughing off of a form. But there we are. We're in the 10th century. We're in 800 BC. We're everywhere. We're all at once. We never leave. I like to say, I never leave this planet. I love it so much. I'm just here all the time. To me, this gift of being able to experience and play with and learn what it means to be a human is just the best fun there is. And I say that walking out of a life that was really quite troublesome. All the abuse that I endured until I was 18, 19-ish made me what I am. I can't look back at that and go, that should never have happened. Apparently it should, because I'm one of the most content people that I know. I have a beautiful life. I have met in dream with my abusers, and we have laughed about it. I mean, we have just gotten together and like, oh, you're a sadist. Oh, you're a masochist. You're just, and just laughing, because this is how we develop on this planet at the moment. But we're all lucky to be alive in a time when our consciousness seems to be gathering a little momentum, moving us out of that realm where it's necessary to be hurt and abused in order to grow, and into a place where the energy of what is, which some people identify as love. And I would say that feels right to me, that it's love. So that when we move into the soup out here, and we understand that what I choose to do with my life, the way I choose to approach my life, the decisions that I make are going to be decisions that allow me to be the best person that I can be. And when parents start teaching their children to listen to their bodies, to make decisions based on what is right, not just for them, but for other people. When we understand that if we hurt ourselves, we hurt others. If we don't love ourselves, how can anyone love us? It's a very complex thing. It's difficult to put into words, our separateness and our complete lack of separateness. But everything each one of us does affects the whole. And this race, this human race, has been changing itself genetically since it started. We don't look like Neanderthals, well, not most of us. We walk around upright, quite upright. We're not entirely hairy. And this will change too. This will change, and cells are mutating. If any of you in here are aware of the rise of autistic behavior in children, which nobody knew about 5 decades ago. And then it started coming into awareness. That's a change of consciousness. That's the human race starting to change. These children are approaching life in a different way from the way that we approach life, because the human genome is mutating. That's what it does. It mutates. We are beings that are made, designed to change, to shift and change, not to stay the same. If you have a flower, growing flower, and you love that flower, and you want it to be that flower forever, and you do something to it to make it stay so that it looks like that forever, it will never make seeds. It will never give birth to another flower. That's the end of that genetic line. So until we can open ourselves up to allowing ourselves to change, the human race itself changes very slowly. The more we open up, and at gatherings like this, I am always thrilled to be in that energy of opening up, because pretty much everybody's on that road. And that's the road I'm on. That's the more of us that do that, the more of that energy is out there, because our world is built on relationships. And even if I talk to you for 10 minutes, your body, which remembers everything it has ever seen, heard, felt, tasted, touched, smelled, and a bunch of things you don't even know about, your body's going to carry that meeting through the rest of your life. You will remember me. I will remember you at some level. And we will all have changed each other just a little if we allow that, if we allow it. But we can shut ourselves down. And heaven knows there's a good percentage of the world that has shut itself down and locked itself up and taken knowledge and going, this is how it is. And if you don't live this way, I'll shoot you. And that's been human life. It's getting better, I promise. And we'll all be back for that. Well, because we are back for that. We're here. You know, I hear people say, oh, I hope I'm not here when that happens, you know, when the world comes to an end. Oh, trust me. You'll be here. We'll all be here. We'll all be here when it's wonderful. We'll all be here when it's not wonderful. And eventually the human race will probably do what most species do on Earth. It'll disappear. But we'll all be here. We'll always be here. These are the kinds of things that your mind can't handle. These are the kinds of things you shouldn't think about. These are the kinds of things you can hear and just let go. Because everything's going to be what it's going to be. And so you might as well just be with it. The key to being content is to allow. The key to being content in a human body is to make your body happy, to give it what it wants, to eat the right foods, to get the right amount of sleep, and to engage your body in a conscious relationship about the life that you're living. Because if you don't know if that job that you've been offered is a good deal, makes a lot of money, ask your body. Take it into sleep. Say, what's the energy around that job for you? For us? What might that be like? And then listen. Because just because they offered you $100,000 a month, you thought that was the best thing, and your body gave you a dream in which everything around you was exploding and the ground was opening up under your feet, and you're like, wow, that was a lot of energy. Dude, that's your mind. Your mind has just grabbed hold of a concept, flipped it around, and said, oh, it was all about the energy. That's what it was. How did you feel when that ground was opening up under your feet? Did you feel like, ooh, this is a good party? I don't think so. You're probably terrified. Don't take the job. Ask your body. It's totally reliable. It is your best friend. It's so good. And don't, let things go. Let things flow. Follow what comes up in the best way that you can. You always hear people telling you that these unpleasant things that happen to you are opportunities for growth and change, and they never feel like that when they happen. They just don't. And that's a thing to accept. It's a thing to accept about yourself, is that you resist. I am so good at that. I object. And then I realize, oh, silly. Silly to even try. People don't like the word surrender much, but it's a really good word, and it's why I used it in the title of the first book, Surrendering to Success, because when you start turning things over to your body, you are literally turning it over to a higher power. Your body is way smarter than you, than your mind, way smarter. But unless you trust that, you don't benefit from it. And it's right there. It's just waiting for you. And you can use it for every part of your life. I took all that massive abuse in night after night after night after night for a while. Give it a break once in a while. Don't want to work it too hard. And in about 5 years, I started noticing significant changes in my life. Very significant changes. And my second husband, who was editing the book for me, decided he wanted to try it too. After doing the editing, he said, oh, this is pretty good. He started doing it. He started noticing some significant changes in his life. We started realizing, perhaps this marriage is not headed in the right direction. He wanted something other than I wanted. And we had taken those things into sleep. And I had come out with basically, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. I was married 24 years. It's a long time. It's a big investment. And I was married to a man who got me through Scleroderma. He cared for me in a way that many people would have been unable to. So there was a lot there. And it was funny because I didn't just jump into this. I had been doing healing work for like 12 or 15 years before I started doing the sleep magic. I'd been doing it on other people, and if you're a healer, you know that you get as much out of working on somebody else as they get. So I had been doing that and benefiting from it. Now he just jumped into the pond cold. And his interpretation of his body's information, I'm not sure what it was exactly. But somehow it told him, and in retrospect, I can see the beauty of it. It told him, go out with that woman. Take her out to lunch. She's a nice lady. You'll get to know her, and your wife will be happy with it, and it'll be good. And he believed that, because that's the message he was getting from his sleep magic. And at the time, I was devastated. He didn't seem to hear anything I was saying. How odd. And then finally I got, oh, I see, time to move on. I wanted to hold on. I'd had it for 24 years, and as soon as I decided I wanted to move on, everything started to open up. And within 2 years, I had a life that I could not have dreamed of. I literally could not have dreamed of it. If you had asked me what I wanted out of life, I'm not sure I would have known more than that I wanted to be content. I wanted to help people. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to paint. I would have told you that. I would not have told you that I wanted to meet my soulmate. I didn't believe in soulmates. Guess what? They turn out to be real. I would not have told you that I wanted to live in a place that's just like heaven. I wouldn't want to tell you that I have a life that's so beautiful that I don't want to go to the Ozark Mountain Conference because I just want to stay home and paint. Sleep magic can change your life if you let it. And if you don't need your life changed, if you are happy and content, as I am now, because I'm still using it, because now I'm using it to refine myself. I'm using it to open me up to new things, to try and learn to actually let go a little more into what's happening, to let go into this kind of painting, because I have a mind that wants to make things very precise, and everything has an outline, and that's the one place where I can have control. If I have a paintbrush, and my body does not want to have control. My body wants me to just start throwing paint around, literally. And I'm working up to it. But this is what sleep magic is, a tool. It's a tool that you can use on your own. And if you use it with regularity, the transformative possibilities are remarkable. Remarkable. It is, in retrospect, how I healed from scleroderma, but I was unconscious of it at the time. I had just surrendered to my body. I was having amazing dreams in which I felt like I was on top of the world. I was in heaven. I could fly. Outside, I was crippled up so badly I could hardly move, and I was angry as I could be, because I knew I'd had a tough life. And I thought, if anybody deserves this, it's not me. Well, I did deserve it. I needed it. It changed me. And as soon as I got that the dreams were promising me something, as soon as I surrendered to that, oh, it's about that. I was like, okay, let's try everything. And I just threw the doors open. because I am that kind of person. I am stubborn and I will hang on, but when I let go, oh, I will let go. And I tried everything that felt good. If somebody said, I have a friend over here who does this, that, and the other thing, and maybe she can help you, I'd be like, no, I don't think so. And I would know that the response was right. And obviously, it worked. And so now this is, in a sense, formalized. And I can use it to become the best me I can become. And y'all can use it if you want to become the best you can become, or just to be really content and really happy. And to be more in the now moment. I have a sleep magic assignment that's actually made up already, and it's about being in the now moment. And if anybody wants it, just come and sign I have a sign-up sheet for my quarterly newsletter. I figure every 3 months is enough to hear from me. And because every 3 months it's like a new person. You can sign up your email there and just put beside it that you want the now moment assignment and give it a shot. Try it. In the books, in Sleep Magic Surrender to Success, which is the first book, Sleep Magic Surrender to Success has the meat of it in there. It explains many things about, just the nuances of it. The Feng Shui book is about understanding what I was talking about in the beginning, which is that you have an effect on your space. So changes in your space have to be contiguous with changes in yourself. You will affect your space will affect you. And it has minimal stuff about learning the fundamentals of Feng Shui. What this area is good for, I tended to work from the compass, so I like the directions, the north, the south, the east, the west, and what those energies bring and what that light brings. Because our life is so much about light. You've heard people say that one day we'll live on light. We will. We will. As we disappear off this planet, we will probably disappear into light. So you know what you know, but you don't know what you don't know. And it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. Enjoy it. Have fun with it. Play with it. When it's troublesome, work with it. Use a little sleep magic with it. Recognize, oh, time for a change. Who knew? Enjoy your lives. Dance. Have fun. Thank you. I love you. Are you ready? Oh, I love questions. I'd adore questions. Does anybody have questions? Yeah, there's a couple. Yes, and...
If you don't dream or remember your dreams, does this work?
In fact, it works much better if you don't dream. Because if you dream, you're dreaming, we've all been trained to interpret our dreams. And that's awesome, and it can be really helpful, but it can also lead you, as it did my second husband, totally astray. And so, or not, because that worked out. But if you don't dream, what you pay attention to is, how do you feel when you get up in the morning? Because you do feel better. There are subtle shifts. Like you can wake up one morning and feel like you're ready to conquer the world. Other mornings you'd rather just not get out from under the pillow. So, yeah, you're actually better off. And there was, yes, back there. Here we go.
Can you explain déjà vu?
Well, I can't explain it. I can't explain much of anything. But what I imagine is that because there is no such thing as time, really, and that this is a dimensional, we are multidimensional beings having a multidimensional existence. And sometimes, as I mentioned before, there may be a spot in time where you have a little bit of consciousness in another life, and you got that. You saw sort of over in this dimension. So when you get there in this life, you're like, well, that seems familiar. You just don't know that that seeming familiar came from maybe somewhere, obviously in another dimension, but another aspect of yourself that saw that. And that's what I would walk with. Play with the idea. You know, we love facts. There aren't any. There just aren't any. Give it up. Yes.
Can you give us an example? For example, for us to go to sleep tonight, what kind of ritual or process, what can we play with tonight to be able to do what you do and speak to our body?
Actually,
and plant that seed.
That's a good question. If you're excited to try this and you want to try it tonight, the basic formula is, first of all, thank your body before you do anything else. And you can do this at any quiet time during the day. Thank your body. Let it know that you have something that you'd like it to do while you're asleep. You can even picture yourself in bed. If you're a visual person, you can let your body have that little picture of you asleep tonight. And then just put forth the idea that you'd like to open a relationship with it. You know, much in the way that you might if you were having a first date with somebody. You know, I think we really get along, and maybe we'd like to hang out some more and get to know more about each other. And take that in. And tell it that if it's a little afraid of that idea, for whatever reason, it could let that go and give it permission to open up this relationship. Tell it can let go of anything it needs to let go of to do it if it's comfortable. Comfort always. Always stress that the body should be comfortable. If it needs to expand something inside you, it can do that. And then just say thank you and leave the room. That's a great way to start, because it's polite to get to know somebody first before you're intimate. Anybody else? We good? Any more questions? Somebody speak up if there are, because I don't see anything. Okay. I think it's a wrap.